Hey, that was very festive. Welcome to the Just Joking podcast. I am one half of the podcast king,
And I'm Joe.
and we are coming to you live, all right, streaming across YouTube and Facebook. We will also be capturing our podcast and distributing it to all major podcasting platforms. So the Just Joking podcast was started by Joe and I. We launched in 2021, and the crux of the podcast is this. We're going to talk about whatever the funk we want to talk about and put it out there for the audience. And hey, man, we've been fairly consistent with keeping our episodes and things going. We've had a couple of uh, um, turns, if you will, but hey, it's all about remaining agile and giving the people what they want, man. So I'm glad to have started this with you. I'm glad that we're doing it, and I'm looking forward to what 2022 is going to bring.
Yeah, me too, man.
All
I'm excited.
right. So, what we're going to do today is this, Joe. We're going to do a recap of the big stories and things that made headlines in 2021 and try to see if we could capture what we felt about it in the moment and then see how we feel about it now. If you
Mm,
have any thoughts, you might not have any thoughts on some of this stuff. You don't know the different stories that I'm going to bring up. That's
right.
kind of how we have this set up. I produce it. I get the stories and I try to capture what your reaction is in the moment. Now, fortunately for you, you're a quick thinker. This big head needs some time to think about my opinions and things like that. So I envy you having the ability to be able to formulate your thoughts as quick as you do because I can't do that. I need time to think.
It bites me in the ass sometimes.
And then after we get done, let's share at the end, not necessarily at the beginning, but let's share at the end how 2021 was for us personally, and we'll close out the show like that. Sounds good?
Sounds good to me.
All right. So, first story, let's just jump right into it here. Let's not waste any time. First story, January of this year, we had the Capitol riots. Okay. Now, we're recently just kind of getting a lot of the updates to
Mhm.
what that story was. But when you initially heard that we had people storming the Capitol, what did you think about it in the moment?
Mm, In the moment, I thought it was insane. Never, I mean, obviously, this is the first thing like this we've had in probably 200 years. I don't know that I've ever heard of this happening before. So it was one of those things where I was just like, just blown away by it. I had actually heard, which is why I always question when the police say they didn't have any kind of intel or anything like this. I had actually heard about something like this happening before it happened.
Hmm.
Um, this was something like, and a few weeks prior, I got some text messages and voicemails about do I want to attend this rally, whatever, randomly, and I'm not like on any mailing list that I'm aware of, so it was like I was just like, "What is going on?" And yeah, I've had some thoughts since then, but yeah, initially my thoughts were just like, "Wow."
Exactly. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. So, this is me just going off the top of my head here. This was in protest to the Electoral College and people that were saying that Trump should have been he should have had two terms,
Mhm,
essentially.
mhm.
So, I thought this at the beginning. I said, "Oh man, when they find out who these people are that stormed the Capitol, they're definitely going to make an example out of these people. You can't just, go into a federal building like that without proper credentials. Let's make sure that justice happened." And did it though? Did justice
Did it?
happen?
Did I mean, I want to believe justice happened, but see, and the thing that blows my mind about this is the people who participated in this rally, do they not strike you as the same kind of people who maybe talked about the Ferguson riots and said, how dare they destroy buildings and set fires and stuff like that? Don't,
Uh-huh.
don't these people strike you as the kind of people who are like, that's bad when they riot? And then they riot. And I'm just like, I feel like they want those people at like the Ferguson riots to be held accountable for the things that they did, but they don't want to be held accountable for the things that they did in the capital of all places. I mean, taking pictures of you stealing shit from the Capitol. I mean, and that's not to say that I think the rally was unwarranted or anything like that. I'm not saying what they intended initially was wrong. What I'm saying is rioting and destroying property is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I believe that for the Ferguson riots. I believe that for this riot. I always consider that your message gets lost when you conduct violence.
Yes,
Um,
yes. A right to a peaceful assembly, I
is a
believe in.
it is
Absolutely.
a constitutional right, and I would never tell anybody you can't do that. But when you start burning things and breaking things, taking pictures of you stealing shit from the Capitol, a lot of that message gets lost because what did the media do? They spun them as these crazy, off the wall conservative nut jobs. They called one guy the shaman. I mean, it's
That
just,
dude.
I mean, and the thing is did they have a right to feel that the way that they did? Absolutely. They
Mhm.
had an absolute right to feel the way they did. They did not like that. They felt like they were gypped. The Electoral College loves to do that to people. They love to take what you said and said, I don't think that person should win. So we're just going to do this. And everybody's pissed. They're like, but we didn't vote that way. We've talked about this in many elections. So they had a right to feel the way that they did. I just think that their message got lost when they started doing dumb things. I mean, and we're all capable of dumb stuff when we're in big groups. I think whenever you get into large groups, it's really easy for that echo chamber to just develop into toxic chaos, and that's what happened. And
Yep.
unfortunately, people should go to jail for that because I mean, if you want to hold other people accountable for their rioting, you should be held accountable for yours.
Hey, this is what, it's a little bit off topic, but I find it fascinating, and I think that I do it as well. There was a conversation where these commentators were watching a video of a pro sports team mascot that was doing can't forget the game where you've got the chairs and then there's one less chair per person.
Oh, musical chairs.
Musical chairs, yeah, and then like once the music stops, whoever sits down is still safe, and then whoever's left standing is out. Well, this adult mascot started like legit pushing people, and the first person that the mascot pushed was like a young female girl, and the commentator had said, "Oh man, if that was my daughter, we'd be fighting." And then the game happened again, and the mascot pushed his teenage boy. Same thing, just push. All right. And the commentator said the same thing. And in editing genius, they showed this same commentator as he was running to go and run to the screen, push one of his co-hosts out the way to where his co-host ran into a Christmas tree. This happened like a year or two ago. And my initial thought was like, do you still think that the person that you push should have fought you? Same thing, right?
I mean,
uh, and,
people lose
and
sight of that sort of stuff, man.
yeah, yeah. So that was completely off topic, but it was kind of around what we were talking about at the time when it comes to like group think and things like that. So this person here was one of the part of the Proud Boys, and I hope that even just saying that name don't get me banned from YouTube or
You
anything like
might,
that.
you might.
But this person was arrested in April after a grand jury indicted him in the same case as two other Proud Boy people for storming the Capitol and attempting to conspire with other members to stop Congress from certifying the Electoral College. votes. He entered a plea agreement. Okay. Prosecutors allege that on January the 5th, this guy traveled from Syracuse, New York to DC with a couple of other people, um, advanced past police barricades, and was in the front of a mob of people when police began to use pepper spray and other crowd control measures. But prosecutor says that they don't have evidence that this guy actually entered the building on that day. That's insane.
Mhm.
That's insane. There were a lot of people there. There's a lot of different footage, and it's my opinion that you're not going to go after people that you might not have pure evidence on. Okay. I think that they did have something, but because this guy might be connected with people, that's why
Mm,
he was able to enter
a
a
plea
plea
deal.
deal,
Yeah,
um,
that
and not
wouldn't
have
shock
to,
me.
yep, and not have to worry about harsh consequences, which is crazy to me.
And is an
Crazy to
important
me.
and is an important message. People will turn on you. Like this dude probably flipped on his people. How dedicated to your cause are you if you're just like, well, if it gets me less time in jail, I'll give you the other 15 members of my group.
Man, I'm so glad that you brought that up. So, hey, look, people of the Proud Boys, if you will, if you think that you might not have anything coming, look, this guy just entered this plea deal, and this happened in early January. I'd be nervous if I were you. That's the moral of this story.
Mm,
Let's move to the next one. These are a bit in chronological order, but not really so. But it's going to start from the beginning of the year to where we're at now. And so this one, meme stocks. The SEC weighs in on meme stocks. Do you know what I mean by meme stocks?
oh, absolutely, man. It's been an insane year for stocks in general. But like the meme stocks of like famous people getting online and being like, hey, do this, hey, do that, and everybody jumps in. Or when they were trying to short GameStop,
Mm-hmm.
and all the normal people were like, fuck that, that's fucked up. Let's make them lose money, and they cost these dudes billions of dollars.
A crap ton of money by institutional investors got
Mhm.
lost when they were playing the short game. So for people that don't know about investing, shorting a stock is where you say, all right, I believe that this stock in the future value is going to go down. Okay, so you can make money if you short a stock and the value goes down. Now, this is not investing advice, this is not financial advice or anything like that. I'm just explaining what shorting a stock is. So, the retail investors, which are just the average people, that's Joe and I, and anybody that don't have big banking money and things like that. You're not hedge funds, managers and all of this stuff. The little guy said, you know what? We're tired of these big institutions controlling the market. We're about to do the same and hit them in their pockets. So what they started doing was investing in stocks and driving the price up. So as the price goes up, these institutional investors and people that shorted these stocks were bleeding money. And now all of a sudden they're crying foul about market manipulation and things like that. And it's like, oh, so when
It's okay
y'all
when they
are,
do it.
yep, when y'all are making money off the backs of moving the markets, it's okay. But when the little people start hitting you in your pockets, now all of a sudden it's a big deal. Man,
Mhm.
they had lobbyists down in DC so damn fast, to try to get things changed. Some of the apps like Robinhood, they piss me off because they kind of restricted the ability for people like me to go in and make money with what everybody else is doing. There were folks that made out like a bandit.
Mhm.
And you know what? Shout out to them. Bravo to them. Did you invest in GameStop, AMC, or anything like that?
No, I came into this a little whiles after all that stuff had already happened because I wasn't big on investing and everything like that before, but it definitely changed my mind about investing.
Mhm.
It helped me understand how volatile investing can be, especially if you're not a big name trader like hedge funds and other institutional trading organizations.
Yes.
But the potential to ride waves like this is definitely out there if you know where to look.
Mhm.
But again, very volatile, very dangerous. Make sure you do tons of homework. But yeah, I regret not being in on the wave, but it's very cool to see the little guy taking advantage of what the bigger people are already doing.
Yep. Yep. I did. I didn't get in on GameStop, but I did get in on AMC when AMC was like, and like, I think it was about $8 a share, and I
Mm,
spent $100 on it. All right, and now those shares at $8 a share are just under $30 a share,
mm,
and I'm just going to hold on to it. Should I take profit? Probably. I don't know. I'm not that smart enough to really make that decision. There was this talk of a MOAS, the mother of all short squeezes, that was going to drive the price of AMC astronomical. Like there were people out there that was, talking about hundreds of dollars, per share for, buying out all of these, shares of the stock and squeezing it to where it then poof. That
mhm.
hasn't happened yet. I don't think it's going to, but you know what? I do like the hope sometimes, not on everything. I do play the hope strategy on some things. So I'm just gonna kind of let that ride and see what happens, man. I mean, hey, I spent $100. If that $100 goes down to zero, it's not gonna make me homeless at the end of the
Yeah.
day. All right. Let's take a look at the next thing, man. Uh okay, so this was around March. The American Rescue Plan Act
Mm,
of 2021, commonly known as the stimulus package. This was the first round that came out where our current president, President Joe Biden, signed into act a bunch of money to help stimulate the economy. For most people, all they heard was, I'm getting a stimulus check.
I'm getting money.
But I doubt that, bro. I'd say 95% of Americans, 95% of Americans never even looked at this bill, don't know anything about what's in this whatsoever. Do you
Mm.
think that that's a fair assessment?
I think on average, because you got to think about how many millions of people live in this country. There's a lot of educated people. There's a lot of interested people, and a lot of people with self-interest in mind. But I think the average American doesn't.
Mm,
I know personally, I don't do it enough. I try to pay attention as often as I can, but for the most part, I try to stay out of politics and because it's just frustrating and infuriating. But something that the stimulus package taught us is there is money out there that we've been putting into the government that can come back to us,
hmm
which makes you wonder just how much of that money that we've put into the government can or is movable to come back to the American people. I'm not
Hey,
saying we need it all the time. I'm just saying that there's clearly money available for certain things. You know what I mean?
hey, speak on it, man. I've always said this. Like, I don't mind paying taxes. I don't mind doing all of this other stuff when it comes back to benefit the American people as a whole. But it needs to be fair. It needs to be equitable, and there has to be some type of way that can prevent folks that aren't contributing from being able to benefit as well, and that's a whole different story, a whole different
It's huge. Yeah.
podcast, way above really my smarts for trying to figure out,
Yeah.
how we can do that. But man, it's just it doesn't take much for you to take a look out and see that, yeah, for the most part people are contributing. Is it fair across the board? I don't know. I'm not an economics major. That's hard for me to say. It doesn't look like it's fair,
Yeah.
but that's my personal stake on it. Were you a fan of the stimmies? I wasn't eligible. I made too much. I was not eligible to receive any of that money. I don't want to count your pockets.
Oh, it's because you're single.
Yes. Yep.
Yes, because I'm
Yep.
married, I still qualified. Otherwise, if I was single, I wouldn't have qualified either.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, because I'm married, I qualified. The money came in handy. We could definitely use it, but I don't think we were part of the hard hit population.
Mm,
Um, I think it's fair that people like me still qualified and got some of that money too. I'm not going to say it's not fair that these people got some. You know what I mean? Like I'm more of along the lines that if they got some and I got some, who the fuck cares? Everybody, it seemed kind of fair.
hmm
So I'm of the mind that sure you might not like that certain groups get it, but you know what? We all pretty much did. So take that argument somewhere else. Everybody got some money, and lots of people truly needed it. There were a lot of people who were really hard hit by everything that happened. Because take COVID out of the equation, like saying, "Oh, well, COVID doesn't affect your finances," but people were getting fired, people were getting laid off, people weren't getting jobs that they qualified for simply because businesses just stopped hiring people. People were struggling for money, and this was important. And I think that we should not lose sight of that. This, even that little bit, because it wasn't a ton of money, but even that little bit helped for the people who needed it. You know what I mean? It could have been more. I think it could have been more. I think it should have been more.
hmm
But ultimately, take what you can get. I know right now we're doing the child tax credit too. I think that's been hitting a lot of people, and that's probably a good thing.
Absolutely.
Um, so government making some good moves.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
suppose. I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, there was a lot that went into here. I didn't dissect everything because this, I mean, dude, this bill is
It's
huge,
huge. Yeah, they
huge.
definitely squeezed in a lot of things. Some groups had to make concessions, other groups definitely snuck some sneaky things in there, but they do that with all the bills.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely use it to like, okay, well, I'll agree to this if you do this for me.
Yep.
Which I hate that politicians do that, but I mean, ultimately they got to make their constituents happy.
Yes, sir. Next story. Derek Chauvin
Ooh,
sentenced to
yeah.
22 and a half years for the death of George Floyd. To a good bit of people, this was justice. To some people, obviously it wasn't. Like somebody, lost their loved one or whatnot. But man, this story divided so many people. And we talked about it on our podcast in one of the earlier episodes, man.
Mhm.
And it's baffling to me the camps that people choose to stand on. All right. You have one people that want to bring in George Floyd's past and say, well, this guy wasn't, a model citizen anyway. So why should we care about him losing his life? And it's like, wait, did you just say that?
Mhm.
Did you just
Mhm.
say that?
Yep.
You know?
Like
Eh,
they're the judge of who should live and who should die. Yeah.
yep. It's like, let's take away what he might have done in his past and let's talk about what Mr. Chauvin did in the moment and what was captured, happening. And let's rate this. Okay. It is my opinion, and I'll just state my opinion, that what he was convicted on, okay, what he got charged with and what the outcome was justified. Um, you know, well,
If
it,
if if that's how much time people get for negligent homicide or murder, then it's justified because he did something outside of the scope of his profession that ultimately led to the death of this guy. Whether
Hmm.
you like that or not, I just I just propose I'll give you this scenario. If he didn't kneel on his neck and George Floyd died of natural causes, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Correct.
If he didn't kneel on his neck and George Floyd lived, we wouldn't be having this conversation. If he kneeled on his neck and George Floyd lived, we'd have a very different conversation.
Hmm.
But we would still be having a did he do how you say over not overkill but like what's the term excessive force.
Excessive force.
We would be having an excessive force conversation. So ultimately, yes, he did something wrong. I mean, it doesn't matter who George Floyd was. George Floyd, cops are supposed to treat everybody, I mean, within reason. Don't get me wrong that cops have to defend themselves, but this man was subdued. This man was handcuffed. It didn't take all of that. All of that was beyond the scope of what he needed to do. They should have just threw him in the back of the car and let him sit in the back of a car. He would have been fine. They would have been fine. But when people go, "Oh, he was a shitty person and he deserved to die," that's fucked up. But like, let's go to service members. Let's go to soldiers, right? I know of people who had to take someone's life because they actively saw them trying to kill American soldiers. These soldiers who saw that this person was actively trying to do harm to them still have psychological repercussions from their actions.
Yeah.
Even though 100% justified. That should tell you everything you need to know about what it means to take a life.
Hmm.
If you can sit there in your vicarious position looking at it from the outside and say that person deserved to die, then you should have pulled the trigger and then let's see how you feel about it afterwards. And lots of people can say, I would have done it, I would have done it, but they don't know what that means. How that how that feels, you know what I mean? The repercussions you experience. I think taking a life takes a little bit of you as well. And there's just so much that goes into this. I mean, and honestly, if Chauvin wasn't a white man, we'd be having a very different conversation.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Same with Floyd,
100%.
and same with
Hmm.
Floyd. But I think if, let's say, Floyd was a white man, right? And a white man or a black man kneeled on his neck and killed him. Do you know the civil suit they would have had? Do you
Hmm.
know how much they would have sued the state? So don't tell me that it's about this or that. Truth be told, this was a you could take race out of the equation and it's still a shitty situation.
Yes.
And ultimately I think people chose not the wrong hill to die on, but like I think they chose the wrong perspective
Hmm.
for whatever reason they chose it for. And I'm not going to say it's a race-based thing. I'm going to say that it's just a poor choice and it's a shitty scenario. Like it's
And
there was no
definitely.
winning in this one.
Nope, nope. And there's a story that I'm going to bring up that happened to me between today and yesterday, and it speaks to people living in reality versus living in a delusion. And it's kind of comical. I think that you're going to get a kick out of it, but we're going to share that at the very end.
Okay.
Let's go to the next one. So COVID happened at the end of 2020. Man, it's been so long,
It's
right?
been it's 2 years almost now.
When did we have the first lockdowns? Like, was that 2021? Was it early 2021 or was it 2020?
I feel like it was 2020. Like I just
Yeah.
don't remember now. Like I feel like it was 2020, like March 2020. I feel like. But was it
That
March 2021?
man, it's so funny because this is where we've been living for so long.
But
Okay.
did the Capitol riots happen before the mask or after
Yes.
the mask?
Well. So this one is the CDC easing the restrictions
Yeah,
that came in May of this year. The Capitol riots was
January.
January. So wait, you know what? Here's a way to think about it. When COVID first came out, who was president?
I thought it was Trump.
So
Like,
did Biden come in at like after it? You know what? Let's
yes,
just
yes, yes, yes. So it was this year. See, man, that's the thing is that's what COVID's done to us. Like we feel like it's been 2 years. We can't.
Oh wow. Because
I
it
want to
has
say
actually.
I want to say the lockdown started in March of 2020.
Yep,
Or yeah,
March of 2020 is when the lockdown happened.
I love the
Oh,
common questions. Can I have sex during the coronavirus pandemic?
hey, actually, the you know what? It should have been obvious for me because a significant life event happened for me. I was in the middle of moving, and I had just moved into this new place. And at the end of February, February 28th was my last day at one place. March 1st was my first day, and March 10th, roughly, yeah, it says right here, March 11th is when the pandemic happened. Because hey, I've talked about this publicly. I lived and rented from this Karen of a landlord, and I would hope to never in my life have to deal with a situation like that ever again. And COVID kind of helped it out because originally the lady who I was renting from wasn't supposed to be staying at her property, but then COVID happened, so she was bouncing back and forth between uh that property and the place that she was staying for because of work. And man, I it was a whole living nightmare. So it should be etched in my brain when the pandemic started, because that started a 6 month nightmare for
Yep.
me. So we're going through COVID. There's all this stuff about wearing masks and things like that. And, people that are for masks, people that saying, oh, wearing masks is stupid. And then the CDC came out around May of this year, May of 2021, and said, hey, we can kind of ease off on the restrictions for people that are fully vaccinated. Between February and May, there were all these different, vaccines that were being generated and stuff, and not fully, folks didn't fully trust the vaccine and things like
Mhm.
that. We've
People
talked
still don't.
about it. Yep. Folks still don't. I'm vaccinated.
Yep.
I have family members who aren't. I like it. To me, it doesn't. I personally, I don't care whether you do or you don't. Whatever decision that you make, may you make the best decision for you
Hmm.
and what you think, has to happen. And also, I say just, be accountable for how things flow down from that. That's all I'm saying. I ain't trying to get too much into it, but I just say, hey, just understand what your decision is and just be accountable. And that's to the people that also take the vaccine as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
Um,
stay healthy. Do what you can to say keep alive, truthfully. Because despite what a lot of people think, this thing does kill people. I
mhm,
mean, people can think what they want. We personally have experienced to know that it's killed some people we know, and that's unfortunate.
mhm. The one part about it to me that is still bugging me, though, if I'm being honest. So this article came out in May. We're
Mhm,
now in December, and it's still, if you're vaccinated, you still have to wear a mask. And I'm just
mhm.
like, well, what was the point of getting vaccinated if kind of one of the incentives to people talking about it is, or them pushing folks to get it, is that you don't have to wear a mask. If I'm being honest, I still don't understand that.
Yeah, and I know that's why a lot of some people, not a lot, but I know why some. That's why some people are like, why bother getting the vaccination if I'm still gonna have to wear a mask? It doesn't stop me from getting it. Doesn't stop you from transmitting it. All things that I can understand that that's why you feel the way you feel. But I mean, look at us. Look at where we are. Look at what's going on, man.
Hmm.
If everybody got vaccinated tomorrow, we might not be having this conversation as vigorously as we've been having it. You know what I mean? Like, if everybody got vaccinated tomorrow and everybody was fully vaccinated, yes, it might still be transmitting, but it's a lot less hazardous to the general populace. How that makes you feel is irrelevant. That's 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 a reality, you know. That's how vaccines work. That's how this whole thing works. Um,
Yes. I had a conversation, man. I was doing Uber. All right.
mhm.
I drive Uber part time on the weekends to make investing money for purchasing cryptocurrency. And I had a pickup of a guy who was a scientist.
Mm,
So, not a doctor or physician, but like an
right.
engineer, a scientist. And he works on vaccines. So, he was explaining it to me in a way that went completely over my head about the way that vaccines work, how they're engineered, what
Mhm.
they're designed to do, and things like that. And it's some stuff that he said that I was like, oh yeah, like I can kind of recall that from science class and things like that. And there's a reason why you've got your really smart people, but if they can't translate that to business, you want a spokesperson or somebody that can speak regular, that can translate what this genius dude just said. Because you could
Mhm.
tell he knew what he was talking about. But the guy's translation to the average guy just simply wasn't the best.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that if you hear him, talk about the vaccine, it's like, well, yeah, like that kind of makes sense, you know.
Yeah. I feel like that's what the WHO, CDC, and all of them struggle with is things are constantly changing
Hmm.
and people latch on to the last thing you said. Like, really. Like, if you look at the way people have been responding and reacting to everything that's going on, they are latching on to the last thing you said, and they're going back. Like, as short term as the American people's memory is, like, it's super short term. We forget loads of things all the time. But anytime any scientist has said something, they go back like 6 months later, like, remember when you said that? It was like, bro, you can't remember that Chauvin killed Floyd. Like, now all of a sudden you're memorizing, you know, microgenomics and fucking, you know what I mean? It's like, who the fuck is like, we choose like these moments to like suddenly be like Google scientists and whatnot. It's just like, geez, man.
Hey man, I've got my PhD in Googleology, bro.
Googleology.
Let's
Jeez.
go over to the next one, man. So
Delta.
Delta was the first time that we started hearing about this new strand. Like right when you thought, all right, man, we're starting to get people vaccinated. We've got this thing under control. Boom, July
Hmm.
hits, and there's this Delta variant.
Hmm.
I ain't gonna front. I was kind of like, what in the world is going on? Because there was an attribution for this new variant in a rise of additional COVID related deaths. Some people was thinking that this is a hoax and it's made up. And then you've got the people that are saying, hey, this is not a hoax, this is real. And then you've got people that they kind of in the middle, not really quite sure. And I just know that when I first heard the word this Delta variant, I thought, well, damn, here we go. This thing done mutated and the world's about to end.
And honestly, that's how they portray it too. And I mean, and that's the thing is like the people who are already skeptical are like, well, isn't this convenient that we start easing up and we're starting to go out and we're starting to do things again, and suddenly we're told, oh, scale it back, we have another variant, and it's more contagious. So I understand where the skeptical people are like, this doesn't seem right, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
And us normal people are just like like, is this legit? Like, I mean, so it's it's crazy. But I've seen communities where there's almost no transmission of any COVID.
Mm.
And I can't talk about those communities, but I know places where there's almost no transmission, but they're affected by the transmission of the outlying communities. And and that's and that's where it gets really confusing. Like, it almost feels like in the and you got to understand the communities with very little transmission are making all the right moves. They're getting vaccines, they're wearing masks, they're socially distancing. That doesn't mean they're not interacting with people. It doesn't mean they're not going to work. It doesn't mean they're not doing things like shopping and hanging out with friends and being in the community. But they're doing all of these steps that they're being told to do, and it's paying off. But then they're stuck with the same restrictions they're stuck with because there's other communities that are still highly transmissible, or whatever the word is. I think I might have got that one wrong. But like, it makes you wonder, like, because clearly, if that's the case in those communities, the experts are right, and
Hmm.
they're listening to the experts, like as everyone should, and they're seeing results. But it's the outliers. It's the people who are like, I'm not getting a vaccine, I'm not wearing a mask, I'm not socially distancing, who are transmitting this thing, and they're living. So they're like, see, not a big deal. But it's not them that everybody has to worry about. It's everybody they affect. Because out of the 20 people they affect, one of those people might die, and that sucks. You know what I mean? Especially if they could be traced to the person. Like, what if the person found out, oh, you affected 20 people and two of those died? Like, how would that person feel? You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know. I don't know. Get your shots, wear your mask, socially distance, or do like me, dude. Just don't go outside.
Just don't
Don't
go
go nowhere.
nowhere.
And no government official had to tell me that. No, nobody pressured me into not wanting to be a part of society. I just don't want to be a part of everything else.
Oh man, that is hilarious, and I laugh because it is true.
Yeah, very true.
um, do you care about this one, Governor Cuomo, and what happened? Do you
Look at
even know
that
about the
dude's
story?
face. If he talked to any woman, she'd be like, ugh.
Hey,
I mean,
but
look
you
at
know
him.
what? When you have status, man, when you have status and wealth and money, as a guy, it don't really care what you look like. That's going to factor into actually the funny story that I have to share with you a little bit later on.
But
But this was a big deal because this guy's fairly known, all right, depending on what you pay attention to. Okay, he was the governor of New York
mm,
and resigned over sexual harassment allegations. Now, look,
gotta
sexual
be true.
harassment is thing that's one subject that I personally have zero tolerance on.
Yes.
Zero.
Yes.
Okay. It is my opinion that in the workplace, wherever you go, you should have control over what you say and what you do in regards to the opposite sex. Now,
Mm,
hear me when I say that, and that's not that's not me saying that, oh, King's a boring person and everything like that. Man, no, there's a clear difference in walking into work and seeing a coworker and making some type of comment that you just should not be making
mhm,
versus, going out to hell. I was at a restaurant the other day. I'm single. I go solo. I'm in my phone, minding my business while my food is waiting on me. And this lady comes up to me, sits down. She said, "Hey, I don't know if you're waiting on anybody, but I thought that you're very attractive, and I just want to come over and have a conversation with you. Grab a seat, you know." And the way that she said it, talked about it, she actually led with, "I think you're sexy and handsome," and I'm like, "Tell me more."
you had my attention. Now you no, you had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
Tell me more. And we had a very short, interesting conversation. We exchanged phone numbers. I'm probably never going to call her because I'm just like uh, I'm a busy guy over here. I'm
Yeah,
a busy guy over here.
priorities.
Um,
But my thing, I'm going to weigh in on this one.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Go ahead.
there's first off, you don't resign if the allegations aren't true.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And it says, look right there. It says at least 11 women. So this is habitual. This
Yes.
is not something that he just did one time by accident. Look at that. Look at that. Investigators say unwanted kisses, groped their breasts or buttocks, or otherwise touched them inappropriately, and made insinuating remarks about their sex lives. I mean, the guy's trash. I don't care how much money he's got. He's trash. Um, that kind of money, do you think you really have to try hard? You that kind of position, you think you really have to try hard to like get the attention of the opposite sex? You certainly don't have to do anything stupid. You know what I mean? Because there are people attracted to power. There are people attracted to status. There
Yes.
are people attracted to probably him based off of his looks. They might be attracted to his looks or whatever, or things that he's had to say. I assure you, there's no reason whatsoever he had to do those things. That was abuse of power. That was abuse of status. And yeah, he should resign. I'm glad
Yep.
he did. I'm glad he did. I'm glad he stepped out of the light. Um my thing my thing is I wonder how long those things existed. Like, you know how politics are. They'll hold on to something until the right moment to burn you.
Mm,
So it
mm.
makes me wonder how long that shit was like really being held. Because 11 women, you can't tell me he did that in a week and then suddenly out of nowhere. This took time. And so how many of them did he pay to be quiet? How many of them, made complaints and nobody did anything? That's a failure on more than just his part. His entire chain probably needs to go.
Yep. Hey, there's another side to this too. Is I'll never understand it, and I don't recall where I've talked about this at, but I would like to know if there was more than 11. How early did some of this stuff come out, and then did it get squashed? Like,
Yeah, why
look,
did it take so long?
yep, look, people, look. If you are one of the ones that are too nervous to talk about things because you're saying that things will never get fixed or he's too powerful or whatnot, have hope. It's King's opinion, and I try to live in reality. I understand that there's a lot of things that can happen, that can come up, that you're like, well, I did try to talk about this and nothing ever happened. Don't give up. When something like this occurs, please speak up. Like, I have been in a position of where somebody came to me about an allegation of someone else. Okay. And you have to do due diligence on what is being said, because you can't just walk up to somebody and say, that person punched me. Okay. And then I immediately have to go, well, you punched him because that person said that you did. Okay. You have to understand that there is a bit of due diligence that's involved when you have something that gets alleged against, what somebody is accusing you of saying or doing. Okay. Please speak up. Sexual harassment had zero tolerance in the workplace. I want to be clear about where I stand on that. And it is my hope that there are other people out there that have that same zero tolerance stance, that when something comes up, due diligence is done, and that proper applications of what needs to happen after the due diligence done occurs. Next topic: the Afghanistan withdrawal.
Mm,
All right. Around the end of, I want to say it was September, October, we had the Afghanistan withdrawal. Now, I can't bring up this entire article. I didn't realize that as I was bringing it up. But around August, President Biden came out and said it's time to end the war. Now, earlier in the year, he talked about his phased approach to withdrawing from Afghanistan. Shortly after withdrawal happened, man, there was a lot of bad news about basically the Taliban retaking Afghanistan. Like this. And I chuckle only because it's a nervous chuckle energy, because we talked about this one on our podcast about the years that we spent over there. the years. Okay. And the fact that there had to have been some type of transition. I was about to say transition plan.
Mhm.
And to all the blood loss, all the time spent, all the people that were away from their families, missed birthdays, lost anniversaries and stuff. Jody creeping in because somebody's lonely. I say that as a joke. Hold on. And then to have the Taliban kind of gain hold instead of a functioning government as quick as it happened, pissed a lot of people off. I know that me and you talked about it already, but do you have anything else to add on this
Um,
now?
I mean, I think we said a lot last time, and I think a lot of people have a lot of feelings about this. What I will say is, I got a lot of respect for the people who stepped up and helped evacuate the Afghan people who helped us over the course of the last 20 years, and even shorter than that. But like, you know what I mean, like their families. There's a lot of people who came together, a lot of resources moved around, a lot of generous donations, and people risking their life and limb to get these people out of that country. Um, and a lot of support for those people once they've gotten here. So a lot of respect to those people. You did something great. Those people did something for us that not even the average American would be willing to do. And that's not a judgment. It's just a statement. Those people sacrificed their lives and gave and put their lives in jeopardy to help the Americans. And for that, we appreciate them and we're going to help them. And I appreciate the people who are doing that right now.
Rock on. Hey, I have nothing else to add to that. I echo your sentiment on that word for word. Next topic. Facebook changes its name to Meta in a major rebrand. How long have you been on social media, Joe? Have you been on Facebook since Facebook's been out?
Yes.
Have you ever had a break from Meta as it's called now?
Nah, not really. No, Facebook hasn't changed. Facebook's the name hasn't changed, but the company that owns Facebook is now Meta. Um, but no, I haven't had a break. I've been on social media since shit. I've been using social media since it was MySpace and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
I because of what I do as a profession, I stay aware and a part of different platforms just to see how they function, see if there's any way it can be used for business or for organizations out there who want to get their message out. So this doesn't surprise me. What this looks like is you've seen the movie Ready Player One, right?
Yes, awesome movie,
That that
fantastic movie.
that's all this is. This is they're trying to step into the world of creating a virtual space to interact with people rather than a bulletin board where you can just post stuff and stuff like that. They want to actually have avatars and people, and you can see each other and your avatars talking to each other and interacting. And I think this is the birth of virtual space. They keep calling it virtual reality, but ultimately, this is virtual space. They're creating a virtual world, or that's their intention, is to be the first to create this virtual world. And honestly, truthfully, that's where we're headed. That whole Ready Player One book and movie, it was just a foreshadowing of what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, that's where we're gonna go. There's nothing more real than existing in a 3D space like we do in the real world. So
Hey, I am all for it, bro. Like I'm
same.
smiling right now because I'm all for it. And take away what you want to take away from this, or think about it however you want to think about it. I don't trust people that don't have an online presence.
Like, what are you trying to hide?
I don't, man, because hey, my thought goes, what are you trying to hide?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying that you have to be like me. Look, I put it out there. I am on all social media platforms. None of my stuff is private. Okay, I'm on LinkedIn, all of it. I'm not hard to find. It's not hard to gauge the type of person that I am because I put myself out there. Now, it is my opinion that there's a difference between portraying, your way to be one way, and then like this. It's easy to kind of see who you are online and gauge a person when you meet them in real life to determine if they are who they say that they are. All right.
Mhm.
That to me, I think that you can't fully be who you portray to be online as you are in person, but that's for you to judge when you meet me. Okay. But hey, look, King doesn't have anything to hide. If you want to come and try to get a gauge of, who I am, holler at your boy. If you don't like who I am, either in person or online, so be it, man. In the past, I actually used to care about that. I,
Mm,
I, I used to care about being liked, and it's so funny to think about it now because I had to learn, and I didn't get this until I was an adult. I had to learn that sometimes people just aren't gonna like you because they just don't. They don't
they
have a
don't.
reason.
Yep.
They don't have a reason. They just don't. All right. Now let's see. Um, so Meta, yeah, Facebook, the company, changed its name to Meta. I think we're gonna have this virtual space thing happen in our lifetime. I mean, we've gone from you were having meetings in person to where you could have meetings virtually to where now I think in our lifetime you're gonna be able to have a meeting where you plop on some type of headset and you're able to look this way and see an avatar and look this way and see an avatar or the actual face of the person and feel as though you're in the same room with them, and I want all of that.
I pitched this idea to the federal government 7 or 8 years ago. I pitched it, and everybody's because at the time they were cutting back on travel.
Hmm.
They were like, travel budgets are getting cut. People are not traveling to meetings and to seminars and shit like that. And I pitched the idea of like glasses, not full on goggles or anything like glasses where you could see the person you're talking to, the person can see you, you appear in this virtual space. And I pitched it, like 7, 8 years ago, and everybody was like, "No, you're never gonna stop people wanting to meet in person and all this other shit." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, I should have patented the goddamn idea if I'd have just had the foresight or the knowledge of patents." But man, I had the idea, dude. I had it.
That, hey, there you go. Oh, the one thing that pissed me off, ooh, this pissed me off royally, but it ended up being a good story in the end. There was somebody who, before Facebook did their rebrand, they had an Instagram page called Metaverse. All right,
Mhm,
and it was this lady who I think she was a retail seller or something, but or an artist. I forget exactly what she was, but she had the name Metaverse as her Instagram handle for the longest. And when Facebook came out with the news, she had said that people had told her, "Hey, you about to get paid because they're going to compensate you to try to get you to you know give up that handle." Well, she according to her, she had said that reps had reached out to her and she said no, and then her account got restricted or deleted or whatnot, and that woo, that made me so mad. And it is my opinion that if she didn't fight it, they would have gotten away with it. But she
mhm,
chose to fight it, and then the story went big. And then all of a sudden, a couple of weeks later, after a review, it was determined that it was an accident and that
mhm.
it shouldn't have occurred. And I'm
Sure.
just like, no, the lawyers of Meta thought that they could bully her,
Mhm,
and she fought it, and thank goodness she did, man, because stuff like that, when the big people try to like come after the little people without merit,
mhm.
I have a problem. I've always had a problem with
I hope
seeing
she got
stuff,
paid.
man, and hearing stuff like that. And hey, smart people or who might have gotten on early and had metaverse.com for whatever reason. There's people that like to kind of get in early and gamble on things and buy up
Hmm.
these different domains in
Yep.
hopes that somewhere down the line, some third party wants it for their own domain and strike it big. I hope this lady got paid. I'm curious what the follow-up story is for that, and I'm definitely going to check that out later. But
Hmm.
Facebook rebranded to Meta. The metaverse is here.
Hmm.
Last story, and we're going to get into our personal 2021 and then the word of the day, as you typically have.
Hmm.
There's another variant, Omicron, Armageddon. Yeah, I've heard people butcher up this word so many different ways.
My favorite
I,
is Omnicron, the fucking
Omicron,
the Transformer.
Armageddon. I'm like, how did you
Omnicron.
get getting out of Omicron?
They're just trying to be. They're just trying to be funny.
What do you know about it, bro? I'll tell you right now. I looked it up. I don't know much about it.
It's just another variant. It's supposed to be a lot more transmissible. It's supposed to be, but look, even CDC is like, we don't yet know how easily it spreads, the severity of the illness it causes, or how well available vaccines or medications work against it. So there's even the experts don't really know a ton about it right now. It's just another variant. Um, and the way the news will play it is like, oh my God, be afraid, be so afraid. And then what that causes is it causes the skeptical people to be like, see, this is that bullshit that we talked about 2 variants ago. You know what I mean?
Very
And and they're like, I'm just not going to do this. I'm just not going to do that because you're just going to keep coming up with more reasons for me to be afraid. And that's what's unfortunate about the news and how they convey the information versus how the CDC and the rest of them are conveying the information. Like,
Yes.
obviously the CDC is like, all right, we got to do some math, we got to do some studying, we got to make sure we know what's what and how it works, and then they'll come out with the information. But by then, all these people who've been reading the news are like, what? CDC doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. CNN does, and Fox News does. They're the ones telling me the truth, and it's not. It's not the fucking case. And I think that's fucking it up for everybody because they're getting people to think, suddenly the fucking CNN and Fox News are the experts, and they're not.
Mm.
They're not. They're dumb, and their medical professionals that they get on there are dumb. They're unless they're getting yeah, unless they're getting the CDC on directly, unless they're getting WHO on directly. I don't believe half the shit that's being said on the news, man. Just play safe, be smart. Wear a mask, stay away from people. Just fucking don't go outside. Just stay
Yes.
home.
Now we went through one holiday season already.
Yep.
Do you what's the sentiment that you've been hearing about people wanting to travel and things this year? Do you think that more people are going to be like, you know what, I'm going to go see family, screw what, you know, the news and people are saying about this Omicron variant?
So I traveled last year for Christmas. I did the whole 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after business. Um, I visited people who have had COVID.
Hmm.
Not while I was there, but I'm not going to live in fear. I made all the right moves. I got my vaccine. I wear masks when I have to. When I don't have to, I don't. Um, Maybe I've been extremely lucky, but I'm also not on top of people. I'm also not like in people's personal space. I do like the whole staying 6 feet apart. Stay away from me. I don't like you. I don't know you. Stay away from me. Um, but I mean, I'm not traveling this year, not because I'm afraid of anything, but just it's just not on my cards. I think just be smart. Just do what you got to do. Stay safe. Take care of the people you love, because ultimately you could be like, well, you're not going to take away my freedom to do this and do that. That's fine, but you might kill your friends and family. You know what I mean? So just be safe, play smart. Because you know what's going to happen if you play that card that, oh, you're not going to tell me what to do, and then somebody you know dies because of something, anything. They're going to say, see what you did? And they're just going to, because the news did that shit. There was a fucking army guy who was very anti-vaccine and very
Oh
anti-mask,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
then he
yeah, yeah.
died. And the fucking news, the audacity of the news to be like, fucking see, that's what happens when you're like, like fuck you. That guy died, dude. Fuck you. If I was the family, I would have sued those news outlets. It's we're not in the game of fucking told you so. That's not how this works. Be a fucking adult.
Yeah,
You know what I
bro.
mean?
They played that up.
Dude, fuck those. Fuck. First off, he had the right to feel the way that he did. He's been pumped full of everything imaginable because he was in the army. He had the right to be like, I don't want to take this vaccine. I'm anti vaccine. I'm anti mask, whatever. He had the American right and freedom to do that. But unless you're going to do that for every single human being that dies from COVID, don't fucking do that. Don't pick that guy and make an example out of him and ruin his family's life now that he's died. So you're adding insult to injury. Fuck you and the horse you rode in on. Don't do that shit. Don't do that.
Yes, yes,
That American soldier deserved to be treated with respect.
absolutely.
He was exercising his freedoms. It got him killed, but I mean, maybe he could have got hit by a fucking car. You know what I mean? It may not have been that. So that's bullshit. All these variants are just another reason to stay safe and do what you're supposed to do, but don't sit here and try to bully people into living the way you want them to live. Let everybody do
I
what they want to do. This is America. We're free.
Yep. I too am not traveling, but the reason why isn't because of COVID or anything.
Yeah.
I have a lot that's happening between January and June of 2022. Literally, there's something going on each month. Now that's great for me because that statement is saying that I'm living life. All right, so I'm taking the time over Christmas and New Year's to just relax and recharge, if you will, because come January through June, it's going to be boom, 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 boom. I'm enrolled to finish my master's. I've got my last class. I have to have a B or higher. Otherwise, it won't be my last class. I'll have to retake another class because I had an F kind of early on that's
Ooh.
killing my GPA.
Yeah.
And and hey, look, this is also a lesson too. So I got that F right in the middle of my divorce, and even though my divorce wasn't a bad one, it was still stressful.
It still
So
affected you. Yeah.
yeah, so it is my recommendation to anybody out there. I don't care if you think if you're going through some type of change, I would say take the time and pause some stuff while you work through that change, because the after effects of how that can affect you, it might not be immediate. It might be something that happens a little bit down the road. For me, what that means is this: I had an F in that class that I still had to pay for. Okay, and that affected my GPA. I can still finish. Like I said, as long as I get a B, I'm straight. But it's also the hardest freaking class that I'm having to take right now. It's quantitative statistics. And everybody has said that that class is hard. So, yay me. Now, I could have gotten away with a lower grade to still finish above a 3.0, because in order to get your graduate degree at this college, you have to have above a 3.0. And had I not gotten an F in that class, then I have some wiggle room, but I don't have that same wiggle room. So I have to demonstrate knowledge that I learned and understand what's being taught in this class. So for the people out there, send good luck towards your boy because I'm gonna need it.
All the luck, man.
All right. Hey, I
Well,
appreciate that. So let's go
talk,
with
talking about because we're talking about the next year.
yeah.
I made the list for service dog. So
Yeah.
I got the final thing. Now I'm just waiting for my date to go up to their facility and train with my dog and get my dog. maybe that gets me out of the house a little bit more. Maybe that helps me be a more functioning member of society. So that's what my next year looks like.
Good deal, man. I've heard some fantastic stuff personally about the company that, or the not, is it a
The
not, yes,
organization.
nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
The organization that is doing this, as you know. So
Yeah.
dude, that's awesome. Let's do a quick recap of 2021 for you. Let's start with you. How was your 2021 personally?
My 21 was not bad. It wasn't 2020. That's for damn sure. I've been working from home now for almost 2 years, and honestly, I think it's changed my perspective on what my work life balance should look like. So it's definitely given me some better perspective on what I expect from my profession and where I work and what I do for a living, for good and for bad, because obviously there's going to be some hesitance once everything goes back to normal. If there's even a normal after this, we might be doing this for, if South Park has its way, we'll be doing this for another 30, 40 years before they find a solution to COVID, man. um, but it's definitely changed my perspective. I've been blessed to be around my family a lot more than I used to be. Um, like when I was in the army, I was very little time I was around my wife. When I had my kid and I was getting out of the military, I said I'd never be away from my kid as much as I was while I was on active duty. And then I did it again. I ended up getting a job where I was out of the house from like 5 in the morning to like 7 at night. And and I'm not doing that anymore. And I realize I have even less time to spend outside of the house now that I don't have to leave at all. So it's definitely changed my perspective, and I think it's done that for a lot of people, especially in this region of America where it's so business centric and it's so government centric, and there's so many people who spend endless hours away from their families and outside of their homes. Their commutes are brutal and insane, and I think it's really changing their perspective and changing their minds about what they expect from work. And I think that's good. I think reevaluating that
Yeah.
after the last 200 years that we haven't really done a lot of evaluating of this. I think recently they thought of maybe making it a 4-day work week and a 3-day weekend, which would be fucking incredible. I
Yeah,
think
there
that
was
would
a
be,
nation that did that actually. That
yeah,
just
yeah.
put that out as a nationwide policy.
Yeah, and they're still successful. I mean, obviously, everybody's gonna say, "Well, they're not America," but ultimately, that's just businesses not wanting to have to pay people for less, because they're all about paying people less for more. So, companies and businesses aren't going to want to hear that shit. But anyways, I think that that's a good byproduct of everything that's happened over the last 2 years. Um, and of course, getting on the list for my service animal, that's a huge deal for me. So I've been on the list for 2 years. Um, I actually put my name on the list before COVID, I think. But the process takes forever. So I mean, if you want a good organization, the process takes time because the training and how many people are looking for animals for mobility or for independence and stuff like that. So just I'm really glad for those things, and I'm looking forward to 22.
Are you able to share, or do you have the date of
Don't have
when
the
you're
date
gonna go?
yet,
Okay.
but about 6 more months of waiting, and then I should be good. And I mean, and again, it gives me a clear window of at least by next summer, I'll be at the training. If it happens sooner, yay! But if it doesn't, I'm prepared for a long wait. I've been
Okay.
doing it this long, anyways.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah,
All right, good, good. And I'm actually kind of glad that you talked about it because I didn't necessarily ask, but I was going to say, how was your 2021 and your
yeah,
outlook for 2022? Was there
yeah.
anything else to the outlook that you want to add?
Just want to keep my family happy and healthy, man. That's all I think most people really need for 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 success or for happiness. Keep your family
Yeah,
safe. Keep your family happy and healthy.
good deal. For me, my 2021, I have to laugh. 2021 was an interesting year. Definitely a great year. Not just good. It is my opinion that it was a great year. but I'm comparing it to 2020, which was a shitty year.
Shit year,
2020,
man.
man, for about those 6 months with the whole landlord situation, not really quite knowing, man, my money really wasn't good then. There were a lot of factors that made 2021 such a shitty
20,
year. I'm
20.
sorry, 2020. 2020.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Because 2021 was fantastic. Now, part of that was this. I got into cryptocurrency. Okay. I'm still learning about cryptocurrency. I made a pretty decent penny in cryptocurrency in 2021. And I'm hoping that what I've learned and the capital and or not capital, but the profit and stuff that I've made carries and goes into 2022 and beyond as well. So, but it's not just like the money things. There's some stuff that I can't. It's not smart for me to talk about just yet.
No,
I've had some good news happen in
good.
2021 for sure. I've got a sponsor on one of my other live stream contents that I
Nice.
do that we're finalizing a deal now
Hell yeah,
over
dude.
this past weekend that is going to sponsor me for a year going into 2022. So that's
Nice.
fantastic because that'll allow me to bring additional quality and stuff
Hell
to
yeah, dude.
my other stream. But a byproduct of that is because of the equipment and stuff that I'm going to be able to get, it's going to help the Just Joking podcast out as well.
Hey.
So there's that. Um, finally making the decision to finish my last class for my MBA because this class, I've been one class away from being complete for over 2 years now. But
Damn.
the reason why I stopped was because of the divorce and things, and I just didn't
Yeah.
have the mental capacity and the resources that I felt like I needed to really get through this last class. And now I'm in a position because of the goodwill and good how do I say this? Good karma points. I don't know. The things that have helped me get through 2021, which was a plan, by the way. Like it wasn't just I goodwill and karma. No, I actually created a plan at the end of 2020 because of how shitty it was.
Yeah.
That I wanted to take 2021 to turn things around. And yes, there were some setbacks along the way, but because I had a plan, I was able to navigate past those setbacks to where I'm going to end this year. Hey, there's still 7 days to where the zombie apocalypse could happen, but I'm going to end 2021 on a a rocket ship of a blast compared to what 2020 was. Looking forward to 2022, man. Being able to say that I am a grad school graduate is going to be a significant thing for me. My daughter is going to have two parents that both have grad degrees. Not like it's a big deal, but it's not at the same time.
Oh, it's a
But
big deal.
I mean, I personally think that it's a big deal. Let's see. My youngest sister is going to be graduating high school, so I'm going to be going out to see that, and that's the last of my siblings that's going to be graduating high school here and becoming a full-fledged adult. And then I'll be the parent of a soon-to-be sophomore in high school, man. So
Crazy.
2022 outlook is looking to be interesting. We did lose. I have to say too, I did lose some family members and friends in 2021, and that's life. There was something that it talked about timelines, man, where it's just like from 18 to 30. That's the year of growing up and making mistakes because you just quite haven't figured things out.
Yeah.
30s to your 40s is when you're starting to really figure things out and kind of get into your groove. And this is like the average person, all right? From 40s to 60 is when people are dying and you lose your parents. All right. And then 60 and above it should be your golden years. You've attained wisdom. If you've done things right financially, you have the wealth to where you can just uh hopefully get through your years at the end as happy and healthy as you can, but that if you've been fortunate enough to make some sound decisions throughout your life, things won't be that bad for you as you get older. Because look, I'm gonna just be honest. I don't want to be somebody that's in their 70s and I'm living in pain. That is not what I want to do. So I'm starting to try to understand, hey, you got one body, take care of it now. Things are going to happen. You can't help stuff like cancer and some of these other things that just affect the body that we don't have cures for yet. Okay, so barring any of that stuff, I can control things now to keep myself um and make sure that this meat suit that I'm wearing is able to last past 2022 and beyond. So that's my outlook for 2022 going forward. Now, Joe, we typically close out our show with the word of the day. What do you have for me, good sir? I've lost your audio. Yep. Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
got I got I got chillins running around making noise, so I mute myself sometimes.
All right.
Um, Today's word of the day is affable.
Affable. I'm gonna try to see if I can spell this and put it up on the screen. Is it spelled like this? Affable.
Yes. Perfect.
Yes. Okay. All right. So I'm starting out good already. I'm starting out good. All right. Affable. Affable is the ability to receive information and be okay with what that information is. Affable.
That's that's kind of a roundabout, almost.
I've
Um,
I've heard of this word before, but I
yeah,
can't think of the context of where I've heard it
yeah.
from.
It's friendly, good-natured, or easy to talk to.
All right.
So
That's
if they're easy to talk to, the information is easily assimilated. So you're correct. And you were kind of in a 6 degrees of separation, kind of correct about that one.
yeah. And that's how I've heard it is if I were to try to use it in a sentence, it was like because of how affable he was, like
Mhm.
because of how affable he or she was, I was able to listen to him. That was the context of how I heard it. It was used to describe a person.
Mhm.
Yeah. All right. Up on the screen. Affable, friendly, good natured, or easy to talk to. I've been told that, man, you develop some skills as an Uber driver because you talk to all different peoples and all different walks of life. And I'll drive, and if somebody just wants to shut the hell up and go from point A to point B, then I will shut the hell up and drive them from point A to
Mhm.
point B. If the person wants to talk and different things like that, I'll engage with that person as well. I'm Facebook friends actually with somebody who I drove. It was a 45-minute ride to the airport, and they came up to me and they said, hey, do you mind if I sit in the front? Now, people that want to sit in the front are people that want to have a conversation. And this lady, shout out to her, is awesome. And she's ever said, hey, if you're ever towards my way, look me up. We'll go out and grab a drink. Super cool, super chill.
That's cool.
That was a fantastic 45-minute ride, and shout out to her. She doesn't watch the Just Joking podcast, but she does watch some of my other live streams.
That's cool.
All right. Well, hey, we have concluded the final episode of 2021 for the Just Joking podcast. Shout out to Eric Nieves, who joined in live and was watching earlier and gave a contact. You know what? Yeah, we just throw that up for Eric. All right. And to anybody else that watched the Just Joking podcast or will be listening to the docile tones of Joe and King on audio podcast platforms. We wish you a happy holidays. All right. I know some people don't really celebrate Christmas like that. Okay, so I'll just throw out the generic. I'm not gonna speak for Joe. I wish you a happy holidays, and I hope that your 2021 ends on a good note. Joe, Close out the show, brother.
2021 is over, folks. There's nothing but potential to look forward to. Nothing but chances and opportunities coming into 22. Think about what that means. We're 22 years into the 2000s. That's a huge deal. We're further away from 2000 than we were when we were starting to freak out about, the 2000 glitch. Uh, Talk about a throwback. Um, but yeah, use that potential in 22. You don't like what's happening, make some changes, fix them, be better. You know what I mean? And yeah, happy holidays. Enjoy them.
Hey, you said something that I say all the time to my own daughter. 2 words: be better. That's a good way to close out the show, man. I appreciate you coming on this Thursday, and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks on the Just Joking